The following podcast will contain spoilers, tangents, hot takes, and excessive foul language. Viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, horror fans, and welcome to episode 323 of Frightmares. I'm your host, Austin Proctor, and joining me today for 2025's 28 Years Later is Cory Johnson.
Hey-o, everybody.
So, couldn't get a guest this bonus episode, and that's fine. The people I wanted to get on, one of them got really sick, and then the other one was super busy this week, so I was like, well, I'm not going to not put out a bonus episode. So John gave me the idea. He's like, you should do 28 Years Later. And I was like, you know what? We should, because it just released. And by the time this comes out, people will have had 2 weekends to see it. So, and a lot of people seen this movie already. I mean, there's 106,000 reviews on Letterboxd. So people are watching. It's made a lot of money. But this will not be your typical bonus episode or even typical, like, regular style episode. It'll be a longer one probably, because not only are we going to talk about 28 Years Later, we're going to talk about some just new releases we've seen this year, kind of catch up on the previous 6 months of horror movies, and we'll probably talk about 28 Days and 28 Weeks. Kind of hard not to talk about all three of them, if I'm being honest. So
yeah, it's sort of a package deal now.
Right. It's kind of, yeah, you kind of have to bring them up, especially because it's been... 2007 was 28 weeks, so it's been 20, almost 20 years. Was it 2007 or was it 2005? Am I tripping? 28 Days was 2002. Okay, noted.
And 28 Weeks was 2007.
Okay, yeah. So it's almost been 28 years since the first movie, which is kind of
26.
Fucking crazy. So yeah, I guess that title is very fitting. I know I had my petty annoyance with just skipping 28 months, but I do. It's just the name. Like, obviously, I like the idea of 28 years into Apocalypse. So let's just start out with our history of the franchise. Well, I guess the history of the first two movies, since we just saw this one, and then we'll go into stuff we've seen this year. For me, I mean, I remember seeing this movie pretty early on in my horror career, if you want to call it that. And I remember being whatever about it. I just remember being like, yeah, sure, it's good. I don't think it's as good as everyone says it is. And then upon this last rewatch, I was like, ooh, man, I get it. I was like, I understand why this movie's so good. Unfortunately, it has not aged well in terms of quality. It is kind of poopy diapers on the quality.
Yeah, it's funny. Jessica and I rewatched it with her mom. Her mom had never seen it. But we got out of the theater, went to her mom's because we were doing some laundry, and we were like, oh, you should check this out. So we put it on, and we just sat and looked at each other, and we were like, wow, this is fucking ugly. Like... This is an assault on my eyes to watch.
So, true story, Danny Boyle did that intentionally. There's a whole thing you can read up about it, but the poor quality, because even for 2002, like, we had better equipment. One of the reasons was for doing a lot of the exterior shooting. Setting up with the cameras that they had took them literal minutes, as opposed to 35 millimeter, which takes a long time to set up. So they were able to set up, do the shots, and then break down like in about half or a quarter of the time. So that was one of the reasons they did it, to get all those crazy exterior shots.
And when they're spending all that fucking money to clear the streets out.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
you got to do it quick.
So that was one reason, but the aesthetic itself I wrote down a whole thing about it for a TikTok, and now I can't remember. So I don't want to misquote it, but it was a stylistic choice to make it look that way. doesn't really, it works for me in 2002, sure. But now I'm like, oh man, this is not holding up well. It's like my only problem with the movie. Because even if you watch the ending is something that they reshot, and the ending looks incredible. It has 35 millimeter cameras at the ending, and you're like, wow, this would have been great if I just had this quality the whole time. So outside of that, I remember just being whatever about it. It was a movie that I watched. It was fine. I remember liking 28 Weeks Later more, but then rewatching them, I was like, no, 28 Days is stronger than 28 Weeks. But they're so tonally different. Like 28 Days, right, is like depressing and hopeless and just very sad and dreary. And then 28 Weeks is just like full-blown panic. I mean, it's completely different tones. You care about the people in 28 Days. I really didn't give a shit about most of the people in 28 Weeks. So they're like awesome for totally different reasons. And so yeah, I've watched them over the years. Hadn't watched 28 Days or 28 Weeks since I've got Letterboxd, and that's been at least 7 years. So it'd probably been about a decade since I'd watched them both. But yeah, I have a newfound appreciation and love for the franchise, so that is my history with the franchise thus far. So what about you? When did this enter your, what, zeitgeist? Is that the right word?
Zeitgeist, my canon.
Yeah.
I remember seeing this like relatively early on. I might not have seen it in theaters, but I definitely saw it before the Dawn of the Dead remake, which came out, I think, 2 years later, or maybe like a year and a half later. I remember 28 Days Later fucking me up as a kid. Like, it because I guess I had seen a bunch of like other zombie movies, like a bunch of other Romero type stuff. And there's a certain level of cheese that comes along with that. And like, they're spooky. They're not scary. And 28 Days Later gives you that like, oh shit, this is like a threat. And I remember just sitting and watching it being like, damn, this is violent. It's hectic. And it fucked me up as a kid. And then 28 Weeks Later came out, and it was one of those things that like was on in the background. I didn't really pay it much attention. Went back and rewatched it years later, and I think the biggest like tonal difference is 28 Days Later is a British movie. 28 Weeks Later is an American movie. And it's two different sensibilities that they're going about, and mostly because it's like two different directors. The other director probably wanted to stand out a little bit more and do something a little bit different. I personally don't like 28 Weeks Later near as much.
Yeah.
It's a lot more action heavy, less of like action is happening, if that makes sense. Like,
no,
there's
what
a
I
lot
was saying by the tone, the different tones, like it's like high paced, high energy for 28 Weeks, whereas there are those moments in 28 Days, but it's so much more about the characters, and you get to know them, and you get such a I have such a bond with like those fictional people. So
yeah. It's very, very different, and you can definitely tell like they were like, oh, let's like put some budget into this. Mm-hmm. And I almost wish they had put more time and less budget because I think the constraints, like the creative hurdles that they had to get over in 28 Days Later is what made it like that much more sizzly. I don't know.
Sizzly. Ooh.
It's there's something about that, like it's just past being amateur of 28 Days Later,
right,
that gives it that extra oomph, where it's like 28 Weeks Later, it's like, all right, we have a budget behind it, and it's written and directed like it has a budget behind it. Like they're a little bit more loose with what's going on, just so they can incorporate like these much bigger name people like Jeremy Renner and fucking Idris Elba and goddamn
Rose Byrne's in it.
Rose Byrne's, yeah.
And what's crazy is that the first movie was an $8 million budget, which, I mean, that's pretty decent for a horror movie. That's like pretty good. Then the second one, 15 million, so basically double the budget, and it shows. And then this one, the new one, $60 million budget, which is fucking crazy. That's 4 times the budget of the second one, and I mean almost, like 8 times the budget of the first one. So, and I mean, it shows. I mean, holy shit, this new one looks crazy. And it's wild because it was all filmed on iPhones. Like, that's insane to me.
Yeah, when you told me that, like, I looked over at Jessica and I was like, did you know this was shot on iPhones? And we were both like, what? What? Because it was such high fidelity on everything.
Yeah.
That it was, but then again, I mean, the original 28 Days Later is shot on a Canon XLR1, which has less megapixels than like an iPhone 10. And we're like 6 generations past that now.
It's the video format was PAL, and PAL is almost worse than 480p. To put it in perspective, it's about equal to 480p, maybe a little bit less. Like, it's not good. So
yeah, it's digital video cassette.
Correct.
Like,
yeah, like, they're supposed to be doing 4Ks because the Blu-rays of 28 Days and 28 Weeks have been out of print for ages, and they're supposed to do 4Ks. And Spencer and I were talking. We're like, I just don't think nothing is gonna help the quality of the first one because they don't have a master negative that they can pull from. So I don't even know if a 4K is really going, or if they're even gonna do it, because it might not even be worth it. But nonetheless, the new one, even though it's shot on iPhones, I mean, they also have, like, they're not just holding up an iPhone with their hand. They have probably $2,000 to $3,000 lenses on these things. I mean, there's a picture of.
Yeah, that setup that you showed me with like the horseshoe
20 camera
panorama.
rig.
Yeah.
It's like the Matrix if they filmed it on iPhones. So it's very strange, but it's also really cool. I mean, there's a lot of bold choices that they made in this, and I say they all paid off, but we'll get there. Because that's going to be the main, focal point of the episode. So, going into some new releases for this year, I have seen a total of 29 new releases. I'm obviously not going to talk about every single fucking one, but I do want to talk about a couple that worked for me, a couple that didn't work for me. The first movie I saw of the year was Wolfman, and I really enjoyed this movie. I'm also a sucker for Leigh Whannell, but I think he did something narratively that we don't see a lot of the time. Well, honestly, I don't think I've ever seen this in a 2.4 out of 5. That's a shame. Basically the entire movie takes place in one night, and you slowly see the transformation happening. It's different than most werewolf movies. So I personally liked it, but I'm obviously in a very small camp of people who like this, but I don't know. It's probably because I like Leigh Whannell so much. That does factor into my rating. I gave it a 4. I guess it's got a 2.4 out of 5. People really didn't like this. I also really liked what's-her-face, Julia Garner. She's in this, and she's fucking incredible. She's also going to be in the Fantastic Four movie this year, which as the Silver Surfer, which is awesome. I need to see her in more things because she's great. I knew her from that show, Ozark. But yeah, so that's one I saw. What's the first horror movie for this year that you saw?
Like the first one that I actually saw, or the first one that came out?
No, the first one that you saw that was new for this year.
The first one that I saw that was new for this year was probably Heart Eyes.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And when I figured out who the director was, it kind of blew my mind because I watch him on like a comedy show, and nothing about this man says slasher killer. Like, he does seagull noises on the internet. So I saw that. I gave it a 3.5. I need to rewatch it now with the understanding of who the director is, because I feel like it might hit a little bit better. Because I was watching it and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
I was so confused as to the theming of what they were doing versus what they were saying.
Yeah.
And it was just it felt very 90s, but it was way too polished.
In the whole time, I remember that you're like live texting me during the movie and you're so confused. And then I was like, yeah, you know who directed it, right? I told you the name. I was like, he also did this. And you're like, what? Josh Rubin. I know him from something totally different. I was like, yeah. What do you know him from? It's like, oh, and then you showed me the clips of him and I was like, oh shit, that's Josh Rubin. I know him from this thing as well. So you're like, oh, this makes so much sense. You just had like this, just watching the revelation through text messages was fucking amazing. It's like, okay. So yeah, that was the one I really enjoyed. The only real problem that I had with the movie, I mean, no spoilers, but the reveal at the end, I was like, but I honestly don't even know if maybe that was kind of the point. I don't know.
And I think going back and knowing more about the director's like comedic sensibilities, the ending makes way more sense.
Right.
I just need to go back and like actually sit down and rewatch it with that different lens. And I will probably change it to like maybe a 4 or 4.5. But going in completely blind without any knowledge of the background of it, it was so strange.
Yeah, so if you're confused about kind of the tone, the dialogue, and the jokes, go check out Josh Rubin on TikTok or Instagram. He's on this game show that's called...
He's on Make Some Noise and he's on Game Changer.
Game Changer.
He's on both of them.
Yeah, and he's fucking hilarious. His Jigsaw impression is great. So good. I gave that one a 4.5 since we're on the subject. I really liked it. It's just a lot of fun. Great kills, great comedy, awkward comedy, fun story. I mean, we haven't had a good Valentine's Day slasher. My Bloody Valentine in like
the original.
Yeah, like 1981. I'm trying to think of another one that I really enjoyed. I mean, Valentine is good for all the wrong reasons. Like, it's a bad movie, but it's fun. I can't think of there's probably another one I'm not remembering, but we have very few good like Valentine's Day themed horror. Like Lover's Lane is another Valentine's Day themed horror.
Because it's a shitty holiday.
It is a shitty holiday. It's the worst Hallmark holiday of them all. So the Hard Eyes is great. Hard Eyes is actually streaming on Netflix, I believe. I know it's streaming somewhere if Letterboxd would fucking load. Yes, it is on Netflix right now. And even another brand new movie this year is going to Netflix too, which I was surprised with. Another one I saw is a movie called Presence. It's a haunting movie from the ghost's perspective. It's really good. That's all I'm going to say about it. I thought it was a very interesting, like stylistic way to film a movie. It's not really something we'd seen before. Directed by Steven Soderbergh. He also did Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13, Contagion, Traffic, fucking whole bunch of stuff. Good director. Gave that one a 4.5 out of 5 as well. Some notable straight-to-streaming movies that I'll just rapid-fire off real quick and not really get into them too much just because I want people to see these. The first one is a movie called Grafted. This one's on Shudder, and just go read the description. Check it out. It's got a 3.0 out of 5, which is pretty good. Other notable streaming ones, let's see. Ooh, is that it? Oh, The Parenting. The Parenting was a lot of fun. Good comedy horror. Brian Cox is a main star in it. 2.8 out of 5. That one's streaming on Max. That's a fun one. There's one called Control Freak that's on Hulu. I didn't like it, but it's streaming. You can check it out. It's got a 2.4 out of 5. I gave it a 2.5. But one of the sleepers of the year that I don't think enough people are going to see is a movie called Dead Mail. And that one went straight to Shudder as well. 3.2 out of 5. It's got one of the most original and unique stories I've seen in quite some time. It has, kind of tropey themes in a sense, but the baseline story is one of the most unique, plot lines I've ever seen in recent years. 4.5 for that one. And then one that didn't work for me, fucking The Ugly Stepsister. Not a fan. Was not a fan of that movie. It's got insane reviews. People were raving about it. 3.7 out of 5. I don't know. Didn't work for me.
It happens.
It happens. Yeah. It happens. And then the only other one I wanted to mention that was good streaming was Best Wishes to All. Now it says 2023, but it was not released in the States until this year, like a week or two ago. I believe this is a J horror movie. 3.2 out of 5. Gave that one a 4.0. What are some other ones that you've seen? Because then I'm just going to go over the ones that I saw in theaters and Sinners, of course. Duh. I mean, that was insane.
Sinners was going to be one of the ones that I mentioned. It was so fucking good.
Yeah.
I gave Sinners a 4. I'm going to skip one of the ones that I really, really liked because you're trying to book the director as a guest.
Okay.
So I'm going to skip over that one. Another one that I watched recently that was just okay. It could probably hit if you're in a mood for something a little less than. It's called Shadow of God. You gave it a 2.
Yeah.
While performing an unauthorized exorcism on his father, an elite exorcist suspects that the entity he's doing battle with might be a holy being, perhaps even God. It's really not a super great synopsis of what it is. there's a whole lot more going on. Lots of themes of like lost faith and is faith even a good thing and yada yada yada. It's religious horror. It's a fun time. Now, while I'm gonna say it does not have horror in the genre, but there are a lot of like horrifying aspects to it. Bong Joon-ho's new movie Mickey 17, it's completely sci-fi, but the idea of you are doing this job and your literal title is expendable. We're going to kill you so that we can gain scientific data, and then you will come back with all of your memories up until the point of your last death. Like there's some very like cosmically terrifying things about that, and it was hilarious. And God damn it, I love Robert Pattinson. I love Robert Pattinson so much. He's so fucking good. And Bong Joon-ho is just a fucking weirdo.
100%. 100%.
One of the weirdest casting choices. And I mean, good for him. This guy's getting work. But I was introduced to this actor as he played Ed Kemper on Mindhunter.
Yes. Okay. He's in this?
He is one of the lead scientists of this movie, and he doesn't have the mustache, but he sounds the exact same.
Confusing.
It was very strange. And Toni Collette, as Toni Collette is wont to do, just absolutely steals the fucking show.
Of course, as she does.
Every scene that she's in is phenomenal. I'm still trying to figure out what the theming or the symbolism of sauce is, but her character is obsessed with sauces, like making sauces, eating sauces.
Okay, I can relate to that.
And then, have I seen anything else that I wanted to talk about? No, not really. I mean, we touched on Sinners. It's the first Michael B. Jordan movie that I actually like him in. You don't like the vampire lore. I love the vampire lore. I mean, it's a great movie overall. If you're into the vampire stuff, it's that much better of a movie.
Yeah, well, like, I don't remember if I mentioned this, or I think I mentioned it on the show. This movie made me realize that I'm just not a fan of the vampire lore because it's too inconsistent for me, and I find comfort in a level of consistency, but aesthetically, from a production standpoint, movie is like a 10 out of 10. I mean, fuck's sake, it looks so good, it sounds so good, the acting is great. Like every single bit about this movie from a production standpoint is out of this fucking world. It's just my hang-ups with the vampires. But I did have it I'd say low rated for a while. I had it at a 3, and then as I started watching more movies and giving those 3s and 2.5s, I was like, I can't in good conscience give this a 3 because I was like, it is a fantastic. So I ended up raising it to a 4, just because I can't deny that it's a almost basically perfectly made movie. So that would be one. What's that?
I will say, if you are going to watch Sinners at home, make sure you have a fairly recently made TV, because my TV, it was made in like 2015, 2016.
Okay.
Sinners was just dark.
Oh,
like the color grading was just dark because my TV cannot produce the blacks that the cameras that filmed them could.
Yeah. Well, because most of it's also at night too, so you really need a high contrast TV to make out all of those night scenes because a lot of it is shot. I mean, inside not a barn, but the
juke joint.
Yeah, and it's lit in there, but I mean, a lot of it does take place outside, and it's at night because
they don't do the cop out like just put blue filters over the floodlights and we'll film it like that. No, they're filming by firelight.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I can mention Final Destination Bloodlines. I don't want to give my rating on that one, but I mean, it was incredible. Love that one. So here are some movies I saw in theaters or was just excited for that did not work for me. Companion did not work for me. I predicted the twist of that movie within the opening shot. I was like, this is vibing like this movie. And then it turned out to be basically that. And I was like, well, that took all the fun and joy out of that twist.
Yeah. If you're doing it in the opening crawl, that's not a good movie.
Well, and it's only because we watched the movie that I associated it with for this podcast. So there's your kind of spoilery, non-spoiler hint, but we've reviewed it on the show this year, and it's only because I saw that movie. If I hadn't seen that movie, and I'll tell you what it was, I mean, you probably already know. If I hadn't seen that movie, it probably would have worked for me, and I didn't see the second trailer where they kind of revealed the twist in that. I didn't see that. I only saw the first one, and I barely saw that because I covered my eyes in theaters. I was like, oh, I don't want to see it. So that one did not work for me. 2.5 for that one, sadly. Another one that I saw in theaters that didn't work for me was, where'd it go? Oh, Bring Her Back. Man, it was just not a great follow-up to Talk to Me. Just like Sinners, it looked great. I believe the acting was great, but even Spencer and Gabby were just like, we all gave it the same rating of a 2.5. So
yeah. I'm kind of starting to think that any movie that I see like deeply advertised on TikTok, it ain't gonna be good.
Well, it just sucks because the directors of Talk to Me came out swinging with that movie, and I'm like, ooh, another movie from them. I mean, you kind of started set the bar really high. But I was plagued with questions. I had so many questions. They didn't go over the ritualistic process about how they bring people back nearly enough. I needed like deeper lore on that, which they did not provide. Riddled with questions. 2.5 for that one as well. And then there was another one I saw in theaters, I thought. Or maybe, another one I was excited for. This one wasn't in theaters. It was straight to streaming. Fear Street Prom Queen. I was like, oh, dude, I'm so hyped for this movie. The first 3 were so good. God, this movie was awful. Oof. So not good.
And it's so funny that you say that because I thought they were. I haven't even seen the new one, but I thought the original 3 were mid.
Oh, wow.
So mid. I was like, this is what happens when Netflix tries to make Stranger Things without the Stranger Things kids.
Well, they had Sadie Sink in one of them, though. So they had one Stranger Thing. But yeah, this movie, I feel like AI wrote the dialogue. It was so disjointed, and it was like interactions with people like it was their first time on planet Earth, like first day being a human. Doesn't make any sense. There was a lot of convenient moments that happened too, and the 80s aesthetic was a stretch at best. That one got a 1.5 out of 5. So
woof.
Yeah, woof indeed. And then I would be remiss if I didn't mention Dangerous Animals, a great shark/serial killer movie. Crazy good time, done by the same director who did The Loved Ones and The Devil's Candy, Sean Byrne. Great time. Gave that one a 4. A lot of good blood, practical effects, and good-looking sharks, which is kind of very important for a shark movie, is to not have CG hellish nightmares. These sharks, they had to have gotten real footage of sharks for some of this, like I swear. And I mean, it was filmed in Australia, so who knows? They probably did. They're crazy out there. Or at least that's what I hear.
Shark movies. I can't stand Jaws. That's it.
Oh.
Like, that's the like.
Not even the first 47 meters down?
No, hated it.
Damn.
When you give me that entire movie,
okay,
and then you give me that ending, fuck you.
I love that ending.
I hated that ending.
Damn, that
fair. Was such bullshit.
Fair enough. All right.
I don't like The Shallows. I don't like Sharknado. I don't like
Sharknado's just like stupid fun though, right? Come on. No?
Nah, not for me.
No, I was gonna say The Shallows. Damn. Huh. The Reef? I don't know if I've seen that one though. I might have seen The Reef. Whichever one has Blake Lively in it. That one's pretty good.
That's The Shallows.
Damn it, it is The Shallows. Son of a bitch. Okay. All right.
I don't like Blake Lively.
Damn. All right. Swing and a miss. So let's move on to the IMDb Roundup real quick. Now that we've talked about all the stuff we've watched this year, catching up on the past 6 months. So this is 28 years later from 2025, released June 20th of this month. Rated R for this is we're off to the races with this. Rated R for strong, bloody violence, grisly images, graphic nudity, language, and brief sexuality. This is my type of horror movie. Severe sex and nudity. I mean, I don't care about that. Severe violence and gore, severe profanity, mild alcohol, drugs, and smoking, and severe frightening and intense scenes. Like everything was red on the parental warnings. Fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Runtime of 1 hour and 55 minutes on the longer side, but boy, we will talk about the pacing. It does not feel like a 2-hour movie. Listed as a horror thriller, directed by Danny Boyle, who also directed Trainspotting, 28 Days Later, and Slumdog Millionaire. Written by Alex Garland, who wrote 28 Days Later, Dread, and Ex Machina. Composed by Young Fathers, who is some sort of musician because they only have 3 credits. They have a music video for Young Fathers, a short film, and a TV movie. So for this being their first scored movie, need to see more work from these.
Yeah, absolutely insane.
These guys, persons. Cinematography by Anthony Dodd Mantle, who also did the cinematography for 28 Days Later, Slumdog Millionaire, and Dread. So this is what happens when you have a director, writer, and cinematographer who have worked together previously, especially on a movie in the same franchise. This is what you get. You get this quality of movie. Edited by John Harris, who also edited The Descent, Eden Lake, and The American Speak No Evil. Starring Alfie Williams as Spike, who this is his first role. He was in an episode of a TV show, one other movie, but this is his first major big starring role, and fucking just like the composer, need to see more work from this kid because he has a very promising career ahead of him.
Oh yeah, as Jessica and I both said, this is like the absolute best child actor we have ever seen.
Yeah, for real. Aaron Taylor Johnson, who was in Kick-Ass 1 and 2 as the titular character, Kick-Ass. We've got Jodie Comer as Isla, who was also in Free Guy as Willie/Molotov Girl. She's also 3 years younger than me, and that really hurt. Then we have Ralph Fiennes, who everybody should know from the Harry Potter franchise as Lord Voldemort. He's also in a 5 out of 5 movie from me in Bruges. And then, funny enough, we have Jack O'Connell as Sir Jimmy Crystal. Now, he's not a starring person in this. He is at the end of the movie, but he was also in Sinners as Remick. That's the same guy from Sinners.
Ah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The vampire from Sinners. So, estimated budget of $60 million. Now, it has already made back its budget of $60 million in the opening weekend, which is fucking perfect. That's good because there's 2 more planned. We'll talk about those later. Filmed in various locations around England and the UK. You can watch this in theaters. Movies that came out around the same time: We Are Living It, Lilo and Stitch, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, Friendship, Bring Her Back, Karate Kid Legends, Dangerous Animals, Ballerina, The Life of Chuck, and How to Train Your Dragon. And then movies coming soon, releasing after this podcast, which it'll be released the end of the month. So July and on, we've got Megan, which just released over this weekend. And we've got Jurassic World Rebirth, Superman, Eddington, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Smurfs, Fantastic Four, and House on Eden, which, if you haven't heard of House on Eden, it is 2 very, very popular TikTokers, Selena Spooky Boo and Chris something. They got together and they made a horror movie, and I'm still fucking hyped for it because I think they're hysterical people. So even at the end of the day, it'll at least be funny. You know, it might not be.
See, I'm super stoked for Eddington.
Yeah, that too. I mean, I don't even want to get into how mad I am at Ari Aster. Like, you started off with 2 of the greatest horror movies of the 2010s, and now you're just like, Beau is Afraid, Eddington. Like, not that Beau is Afraid was bad, but it's like, Can we get back to horror? Because come on, man, you made so many good movies. I mean,
I Was Afraid is
horror,
its own masterpiece.
It's its own genre. I don't even know what to qualify that as, but yeah, it's like I'm excited to see more Ari Aster, but like I do need another horror movie from you at some point. Let's see. IMDb summary. A group of survivors of the rage virus live on a small island. When one of the group leaves the island on a mission into the mainland, he discovers secrets, wonders, and horrors that have mutated not only the infected, but other survivors. This is 28 years later.
Wait, sit here. Auntie, what's going on? Jimmy, sit still, keep quiet, and do not move from this spot.
Seven, 6, 11, 5, 9 and 20 miles today, 4, 11, 17, 32 the day before. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Don't look at what's in front of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. Men go mad with watching them. There's no discharge in the war. If your eyes drop, they will get the top of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Cry, to think of something different. Oh, my God, keep me from going lunatic. Moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. 7, 6, 11, 5, 4, 17, 32 the day before.
So, overall thoughts on the movie, Cory. What do you have?
So, this is, to me, a perfect movie. Everything about this movie hit so hard. The scares worked. The violence was perfect. Nothing felt like over the top. Everything felt like everything on camera was what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like it was distilled down in such a way that it's like, all right, if they would have changed anything about this, it would have just started to crumble. It was built so perfectly. You can't see the seams at all. The editing is slick and fresh and very strange.
Right.
Everything is lit perfectly. Everybody acted their fucking ass off. Every piece of information left me going, I want more. Give me more. But it didn't end with a sense of, man, I want, like, there wasn't enough. Like, everything was just, it was perfectly laid out.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically how I feel. I mean, my overall thoughts are, I think this is a brilliant movie that took a lot of bold choices, swung for the fences. It somehow combines the tone of the first two installments, which are wildly different, into one hauntingly beautiful story. Now, before we get into the review, there's a hot button issue with this franchise, and that is, do you consider these zombies or not? Because there's a lot of avid people out there that are like, these are fucking zombies, and I'm like, they're zombies. I don't know what you want from me.
So, I mean, I guess it really all depends on how nitpicky I want to be with the term zombie. Am I going off the George Romero zombie, or am I going off the like old school original voodoo zombie? If you're going off the original, very, very like cultural source material, yeah, they're zombies. Sure. Why
No,
not?
if you're going by the original source material, none of the movies that we are watching are zombie movies because a zombie is a corpse that is revived by witchcraft. That's a zombie.
So it's not even corpses. It is a person that has become under control of another in a trance-like state.
I'm looking at a definition on Google and it says a corpse.
I've seen documentaries that say otherwise, but I guess it really all depends on who you're listening to.
So if we just go by this definition I have here, basically none of the zombie movies, that are labeled zombies are zombies because it starts usually with some sort of a virus. Very rarely are they revived by witchcraft, or witchcraft has really nothing to do with most zombie movies. So it can be argued that most zombie movies really aren't technically zombies. But for me, it's anything plagued by some sort of virus that completely turns off the prefrontal cortex of a human's brain, and they're out for blood. I don't care if they're eating brains. I don't care if they're eating people. Whatever. If you're feeding off of another human that's not infected, to me that's a zombie. But people are very adamant that these are not zombies.
Now, what I will say is, if we're gonna get into like hair splitting, I'm gonna say technically no, and I'm going to say that based on rate of infection, because other zombie movies, and even if you're doing like The Last of Us, which aren't even zombies, it's a fungus.
Yeah.
It has to get into your body and kill you first.
Right.
And then it takes over, like the T virus from Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Whereas this, like, you get saliva or blood in an orifice on you somewhere, 12 seconds.
Yeah.
Like this, I would almost say that this is they're not zombies. They're like, they are infected. It is a plague movie, if anything.
Yeah. And for me, it's just like, I don't need to be, it only seems to happen with this movie for some reason. And I don't need to be that nitpicky in about it that some people are, where they're like, no, these aren't zombies. I'm like, for the sake of argument, I'm calling them zombies because what else am I supposed to call them? Rage thing? Like infected? I mean, sure, I guess infected works, but it's just, I don't know. It's so much easier to just classify them into zombies for me. So I'm calling them zombies. So let's go right into let's go into some likes here from the movie. The opening scene is quite incredible, and it's funny because you remember the scene in 28 Days Later? I mean, it's right at the beginning of the movie when Cillian Murphy goes into the church and he sees the father and he's like, "Hey, father, like, what are you doing?" And then he whacks him over the head.
Yeah.
When Jimmy, the little kid Jimmy, runs into the church, I was like, is this the church from the beginning? Because there's a priest and stuff. It's not.
It is. I think it is.
Oh, see, I think it is, but yeah, they didn't make an actual connection, but I feel like it is. So
see, and I feel like it is because later on in the movie, when they're like exploring the ruins,
yeah,
I feel like it's the exact same ruins that Cillian Murphy and crew stop and camp at.
Okay.
Like I mean, the UK is not a large place. It fits inside of Texas. So
God, really?
Yeah,
that's true. You see it on a map and you're like, fuck, that's huge. But then you actually put United States over Europe, and yeah, you can get around most of Europe in like a few hours.
Yeah,
it's pretty fun.
So I do think they kind of reuse some scenes, but because it's like 28 years and they've just kind of let shit take over, it was allowed to be different enough to where you weren't like, oh, you're reusing scenes or you're reusing locations, but people with the eagle eye are going to be like,
yeah,
was this an intentional tie back, or did you just need a location that you could film at, and you knew you could film at this one because you did it before?
That's true. And I mean, there are 2 more planned sequels in the trilogy. The second one is already done. It is in post-production and it's going to be released in January of next year. So that one's done, but they're not greenlighting the third one because they want to see how the first one does And then, of course, they obviously, if the first one does good enough, then they'll just greenlight it then. But they all, you know, if the first one doesn't do as good, then they're going to gauge it with the second one. So it's entirely possible that they tie a lot more together in 28 years later, The Bone Collector, which is the title of the next movie, which is The Bone Temple, I think. One of the two. I have it in my notes, but it's a fucking stellar name. Some things I wanted to point out that that this does different than most zombie or infected movies. This showcases someone with a real sickness from the regular world. Isla has cancer, we find out at the end of the movie from Dr. Kelson. That's something that, I mean, doesn't really happen. Like, I can't remember a time where I'm like, oh shit, someone's got cancer in a zombie movie. That was like, oh, that's right. You know, real problems are still going to exist in an apocalypse setting. So I thought that was fun. Like, I thought that was interesting. Usually in zombie movies or apocalypse movies, people, when you run into other people out in, you know, the wasteland, everyone's defensive. But Dr. Kelson was like waving people over. And even when Isla and Spike get there, he welcomes them. That is not something that's typically done in a movie like this. Everyone's very defensive. They want to fight immediately and kill each other. So I like that. That was a different change of pace. This also makes you connect with every single person. Well, maybe not every person, but most of the main cast on a deep emotional level, especially Spike, especially Isla, especially Dr. Kelson. You get, you go through the thick of it with them. And it's something that really plays off of the first movie because there's a real emotional level to 28 Days Later, as opposed to 28 Weeks Later. Pregnant zombie, pregnant infected. That's the first time.
That was super bizarre. But going back and especially because I just rewatched 28 Weeks Later this morning, going back and rewatching that, I'm wondering if they were trying to tie in the natural immunity with people that have heterochromia and that allowed the rage virus to mutate because they get into Paris from the boy. I'm wondering if they're going to use that going forward as like this is how these infected were able to like transition into like they're hunter gatherers now. And there's like a not infected baby from uninfected, which raises a whole other question is if the baby's not infected, would the infected mother eat the baby? Like it opens up so many lore possibilities of what's going on.
Well, the thing about I had the same thought about the pregnancy because we see that pregnant, infected give birth to a child that doesn't have the virus. And when they tell that to Dr. Kelson, he says, the placenta, like Mother Nature's cure-all or something like that. So basically, it's a one-off, it's something that if you weren't paying attention to or just happened to miss, it was so quick. But basically, it's explained that this baby is not infected due to the placenta because the placenta is meant to push out all of the toxic things from the mother's body. And Dr. Kelson was like, I was wondering what would happen, if a infected got pregnant. So apparently that's a thing, but. I mean, you're also right. If those people, if Isla and Spike weren't there, that fucking lady would have totally eaten the baby because it wasn't infected. It would have 100% eaten that baby, which, I'm all for child death in horror movies. This literally starts off with a bunch of kids getting murked. Had my attention right away. But I'll tell you what I don't need to see is a baby getting eaten. I don't need to see that. But kids getting murked right off the bat, I was like, oh my God, you have my attention right away. So, yeah. And then we also have the classes of zombies, which is fun. I'm not saying that this has never been done before, but it's fun. It's video game-esque. You have the alphas, you have the slow lows is what they called them. And then they didn't really give a name for the fast ones, but runners or something like that. So you have these different classes, which is really fun. So those are some things I noticed that this movie did just a little differently than the average zombie apocalypse, infected style movie, which I think they were all really good additions to this. It's just stuff you don't typically see. So, let's see. So this obviously plays off of the first two movies 28 years later. And what I love about the setting of this movie is the fact that The virus is contained to the UK because it's considered an island country, and they have quarantine patrol that goes around the island, making sure that it doesn't go any further. And the setting of the island is so cool. It's like this, especially where the main cast members or the main, oh my God, the main characters are from. There we go. It's this tiny little island away from the mainland. It's like a totally different perspective of the outbreak because the first two movies were an urban setting. This is the first one we're seeing like out in the fucking woods, which added a whole other element of just horrific shit. You're like, the woods are already scary enough, and you add in all these undead things. I'm so out. Like, I'm so out.
Yeah. It's
I want nothing to do with it.
Every time they were like moving from location to location, I'm like, ooh, what's behind that tree? Ooh, what's behind that rock? Ooh, what's behind?
Yeah, like, no thank you. And let me just say this too. If these are the type of zombies that we get, if this ever happened and we got and they're these infected things running at 100 miles an hour, absolutely not. I'm taking myself out.
Yeah, I'm choosing to log out of that server.
Yeah, exactly. I am not doing that. I am only going to stick around for the Walking Dead style George A. Romero brainless, undead creatures. I am not about anything that's running that fast. So another thing that I feel is kind of hard to convey with some movies is that this world that they establish feels lived in. With 28 days and 28 weeks, it was easy to convey that feeling because it's an urban setting. It's a city. People lived in it. But this is out in the woods on an island, it's just you have the causeway, you have the section of forest that they've cut down for firewood, all the roles that they have in their village, they have the people in school. It feels so fucking lived in. And that, like I said, it's not easy to necessarily do, but they do it very well and without shoving it in your face. It's just so natural,
I was thinking about that, and here's my theory behind that.
Oh, please tell.
That feeling is due almost entirely to good extras. Everybody in the background made sense.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like, oh, here's this tiny little island that's just like hustling and bustling with way too many fucking people. Or, oh, here's this little island that's only got like 6 people. There's no way they would be able to make the infrastructure work.
Right.
Like, everyone that is there makes sense.
Yeah. No, that's a very valid point.
And they have just enough people to where like, oh, this thing's on fire. Oh, well, watch the tower. Don't let your eye off the horizon. Okay, now you can sneak out because you created a proper diversion. Like, everything falls into, if this were going on, yes, that makes sense.
That's a perfect segue into literally my next point, because everything in this world also makes sense. Like the zombies not having clothes. It's been 28 years later. All the clothes have gone by now. The zombies are evolving in some sense. Like, you have these alphas which seem more aware. They seem more human-like than all the other ones. The sicknesses don't just vanish. Isla has cancer. People still have emotional struggles unrelated to the outbreak. Like, we have the conflict between Jamie and Spike when Jamie is cheating on his mom. With another girl.
It's funny you bring up Jamie, because one of the things that I really, really, really appreciated in this movie is you get that entire first sequence with Jamie and Spike.
Right.
And as that's happening, I lean over to Jessica and I go, is this horror father of the year right here? Is this just the best dad to ever be in a horror movie? And then you get the rest of that storyline. I was like, well, I'm eating my fucking words. And it wasn't a flip that made me go, oh, damn, that makes me feel bad. But it was such a throw of what I expected to happen that I was like, oh, okay. Like, I guess I really shouldn't get attached to these characters.
That's fair, yeah, but if you think about the position he's in, right, it's a fucked up situation to be in. Not only are you dealing with an apocalypse style setting with, flesh-eating crazies out there, you have a wife that he doesn't know at the time, obviously has cancer. Dr. Kelson tells us that towards the end of the movie. So she's got this sickness where she doesn't remember where she is. She doesn't remember half the conversation she has. She's talking to her dead dad at one point, who she thinks is Spike. So what do you do in that situation? You can't just go fix her. You can't figure out what's wrong. And I mean, there is a doctor, but he's way over there, and they had a weird...
Everybody thinks he's crazy.
Yeah, and everybody thinks he's crazy when he's really not. So it's like, what do you... Even if you told the wife, hey, listen, like, I have needs, I'm a man, I need to whatever, she's not going to remember the conversation. So you're in such a weird spot of like, what do I do? And of course, I'm not condoning what he's doing. It's terrible, but it's, I mean... you have so much emotions going on.
He's a human at the end of the world.
Yeah. And that's what they do. They do such a good job of that in this movie, is humanizing all of these characters and giving them depth and actual layers to their characters. And then the last thing I noticed, which just makes sense in this world, is they actually add something really fun and interesting to the kind of the lore of the infected, is that Dr. Kelson provides us with this little note of, hey, because he's covered in this like yellow shit, or yellowy orange shit. And you're like, what is that? And he's like, so this is iodine and it staves off the virus. So you're like, that's going to come into play in the future, I feel like. It basically acts as like this kind of prophylactic against blood or spit or whatever. And I'm like, that is a really cool addition to the story that will definitely, I mean, they'll have to pick that back up at some point. So that's basically about this, like the good, like just the incredible story building, world building that this movie does. Now, from an aesthetic point, the cinematography to me is just so fucking, oh my God, it's so, for iPhones and for what they were doing, I'm like, this is crazy good quality for using an iPhone with a lens. You have some really awesome shots of zombie deaths where, you know, I mean, if you've seen the movie, you know what we're talking about, but they shoot an arrow and it's like you get the plunge through the arrow of the head and the camera just like shifts to like a la the Matrix, and it just shifts to one side and then splat. And I was like, I fucking love that. Cause just when I was like, ooh, they're doing this a lot, we probably should stop doing this, they like the next kill, they didn't do it. And I was like, perfect. I was like, all right, cool. We're good.
Like I said up top, they give you the perfect amount of everything in this movie. Because the minute that you're like, oh, that camera technique's getting a little stale. All right, here's like 6 different types of aerial shots. Oh, here's the coolest fucking Dutch angle you've ever seen. Oh, you're getting sick of arrows? Let's use some guns now.
Right, yeah. It was so good. And really, not really, but in the beginning of the story, when they first go to the island with Spike, there's this technique that they use that they only really do at this time. And Jamie stops and was like listening for something. And then it cuts to like this night vision, red filtered fucking camera. And these, you know, the infected are just ripping things apart. And they keep cutting that in every few seconds. And I'm like, this is, oh my God, this is the most unhinged editing, but it's working so well. And then you have that song in the background of like 2732 blah blah blah. It's this lady.
So that is a poem written in 1914 by Rudyard Kipling.
Okay.
Re-released on audio, I think in 1915 by somebody else who was like an actor at the time and doing a dramatic reading of it. And it's a poem talking about World War I troops marching across Africa.
Yeah, because I found the song on YouTube. It's called, the song is called Boots. But yeah, it's just this lady in the background, and then like the score like thumps in and it's cutting to all these, you know, infected, just ripping things apart. And I'm like, this is peak cinema. I'm like, this is so peak right now. I'm living.
And then they're cutting in World War I footage at the same time.
Which didn't make sense because I've seen this twice in theaters, so it didn't make sense the first time I saw it. But after I looked up the song and read the lyrics, and I was like, oh, this is obviously something, and you just explain it even more. It makes a lot more sense now that they were cutting in that footage too. Because it didn't make sense at first, and I was like, this is a weird stylistic choice that I'm not understanding. But yeah, after seeing it again and you explaining that, I'm like, yeah, now it's all coming together. So. Oh, yeah, there it is right there in the trivia that I have right there about the, Rudyard Kipling. But yeah, so you have a lot of good, really just stylish shots in this movie. I think they all work very well. I know one of my friends who I play Xbox with, he had an issue with some of the shots, and I understand it. Like, there's a lot of shaky cam. There's a lot of kind of jarring shots. But for me, it just
everything is sprinting. How do you not have shaky cam when everything is sprinting? The people are sprinting. The infected are sprinting. The animals are sprinting. The rats are sprinting.
God, the rats. Yeah, so I just think it fits so perfectly because it really matched the camera work from the first one. The second one was a little more glossy and sleek, but it matched more of the aggressive nature of the camera work in 28 Days. So I thought it was great, and then the score as well. So the cinematography is great, the score is great. So everything about the production of the movie is great. You mentioned the lighting earlier, how everything's lit perfectly, and I didn't even think about that until you said that. I'm just like kind of replaying a lot of the movie because I just saw this again. I'm like, it is lit perfectly. Like every fucking scene is lit so perfectly. Even in the tunnel when they run into that alpha and they have all those headlamps on, you can still see fucking everything. And even the thing you're not supposed to see, the alpha, you don't see until it's meant to be revealed, and then the reveal is so fucking good. So yes, I will agree with that. The lighting is perfect. The score is perfect. Everything about the production is just so perfect. So you add that to the world building, the characters, and the story, and you've got a fucking movie here. You've got a movie of the year contender, or horror movie of the year contender. I mean, this is probably one of my favorite movies of any genre because it's just so good. And I'm kind of glad it took this long to get it because we wouldn't have gotten this movie. We would have gotten a completely different movie.
Yeah, film techniques had to be developed.
Right.
Backroom deals had to be made. Like the timing had to work for the timing.
Yeah.
If it would have been 2 years later on the 28th actual year, if it would have been 2 years early, I don't think it was just this was lightning in a bottle type moment.
Absolutely. Agree with that. So the other point I wanted to hit is the pacing. I mentioned this at the top of the episode. It's an hour and 55 minutes. So I kind of wrote like a breakdown of how it all went. And it's kind of fascinating because typically you have, and this has a 3-act structure, but it kind of doesn't at the same time. Cause like the first 40 minutes are pure adrenaline horror, very much like 28 Weeks Later, because that's when they go into the mainland and shit goes down. They have to stay there overnight. Like, it's a whole fucking thing. And then that's countered immediately once they get back with some humor. Jamie's bragging about Spike, and then we learn the whole thing about how Spike saw his dad with cheating on his mom. We also learn that there's a crazy guy out in the forest named Dr. Kelson, or at least he's deemed crazy by, the villagers there. So then Spike is, like, we need to go fix mom. Why haven't we gone out there? And, Jamie's like, well, this is why. So he's pissed at his dad already for cheating on his mom. So he just takes his mom and they fucking hoof it to the mainland across the causeway. Bold move. Which is about like 30 minutes after once they get back to the island, like 15 minutes later, they're back on the mainland. And then the following like 30 or so minutes is just pure dread, isolation, fear, the unknown. You have no idea what's going on, very much like 28 Days Later. And then by the time they get to Dr. Kelson, you have this about 15, 20 minute just emotional fucking gut punch. Oh my God.
Yeah, Jessica was weeping.
Oh my God.
I got a little teary too, but
yeah.
Jessica grabbed my hand and was just weeping. And I'm like, all right, if this is getting an emotional reaction from her, this is a good movie.
Yeah, and weirdly enough, even knowing what was coming, the second time, I was like, God, I'm really having to fight here, man. Like, I don't cry during movies or like really ever. So if I'm getting an emotional reaction from someone who really doesn't have a lot of emotions like that, yeah. So you have that happen, and then that's immediately countered by the alpha coming back. Spike decides to stay out there. He brings the baby back to the island, drops the kid off, leaves a note, stays out there, and then he runs into Jimmy. Now, Jimmy, if you didn't pick up on this, because I didn't the first time, I didn't pick it up on it until the second time. Jimmy, at the end of the movie, is the same Jimmy from the beginning of the movie, the tiny little child. And that's verified by A, his name, and B, he has the same cross that his dad gave him at the beginning of the movie. And then it just ends, and you're like, hello? What ending was that? Because he has this ragtag group of people that fucking start doing ninja moves and backflips and really enjoy killing these infected beasts, if you want to call them that. And then he's like, hey, I'm Jimmy. We should be buds. And I'm like, see, they say that in prison too. And that never works out for anybody in prison. So is this good? Is this bad? And then it ends, but it makes sense in the context of there's going to be a sequel. So I wasn't mad if this was just a one-off movie, obviously that wouldn't have worked. But the fact that there's going to be more, this just sets you up. And for me, yes, it was a weird ending, but I'm also like, oh, what a way to end that on like such a cliffhanger.
Yeah, and see, I didn't know that there was going to be a second movie.
And you still gave it the rating you did.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Because like I told you, I texted you, and I do not believe, I don't care what the actual time slider says. There's no way that movie was an hour and 55 minutes.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It's crazy.
Sat down, I finished my soda, and the movie was over.
Yeah.
And I was like, we've been in here for like 25 minutes.
I swear.
Like the pacing of this movie is on a rocket ship going to outer space. It is so fast, but it doesn't feel rushed.
No.
Like it's paced so well that by the end you're like, wait, what happened?
Yeah. I
got that ending, and not knowing that there was going to be another movie. Once I started picking up like, oh, there's somebody named Jimmy out there killing these infected, because you get the hanging person in the very beginning of the movie that has Jimmy carved into the torso. And then when Spike and his mom are walking through this town, you get that kind of aerial shot, and it says something, Jimmy kills the fucking dead.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm like, all right, there's somebody out here named Jimmy. And then we get the reveal of Jimmy at the very end. And I'm like, oh, well, he's this guy that's obviously been killing these zombies and doing it effectively. So now you get this guy that is on his like training arc. He is starting his hero's journey, and he meets the one figure that we've seen in the world. Well, haven't seen, but that has been referenced in the world as being the killer of the infected. Now he meets him, handshake, dap him up. All right, that's a cool ending. He met his mentor, and in my brain that tells me, all right, this kid's gonna train, and the untold story is he comes back and he saves his little village.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I let myself infer that, and I was like, oh, it's still fucking awesome.
Yeah, and yeah, the end. Yeah, so the ending is really good. It's wacky. Like even the people when I saw it today were kind of like, what? Like they might not know there's a sequel either. But even if you don't know there's a sequel, you know that that's the Jimmy you have to at least assume that's the Jimmy that's been referenced the entire time. So I think it's a perfect way to end the movie and then set up the next one. The next one is called the Bone Temple. Now, I'm assuming that the only thing that looks like a bone temple that we see in this movie, where Ralph Fiennes' character lives, Dr. Kelson, so my speculation for the next movie is, so you have to wonder, where's Ralph Fiennes getting all of these bodies? I don't think we didn't see him kill one. In fact, he said he named one, Samson, that's been around for 3 years. So he doesn't appear to be killing any of the infected. My speculation for the next movie is that I think Jimmy knows Jimmy knows Dr. Kelson, and he's the one bringing him all those bodies, because like I said, Dr. Kelson didn't kill one infected the entire movie. He lets them live. He just tranquilizes them and lets them go on their way. Weird move. But he does say it kind of helps. It weirdly helps keep other things away. So whatever. So that's my kind of theory, is maybe Jimmy and Dr. Kelson know each other. Jimmy does all the killing. He brings them back because I hot take for me on this one, and I don't know how hot it is, but I have two. So we'll start with this one, is that I think Dr. Kelson is really doing a service to the UK by burning these bodies, getting rid of the infection, or not getting rid of it, but helping reduce the amount of infected things that are around. And then he also kind of honors them in a way by taking their bones and, not just throwing them in the river or, whatever. He's making little temples out of them. It's like,
making horrific obelisks to the apocalypse.
Right. So I think what he's doing is not as crazy as everyone, tried to convince Spike that it was. So yeah, that's my kind of speculation for the next one. I'm very excited, but and just going back to pacing real quick, it's just funny how the movie slows down, obviously, when you go to Dr. Kelson's camp. But I mean, it's such an emotionally charged scene that still carries the momentum, even though there's not a lot happening. It's a completely different type of momentum that keeps it going, because then right after that's done, the alpha comes back, and then you're back to like threat level midnight here with, oh shit, that's right, I forgot, we're still in this apocalyptic world where there's dead things running around, and then wacky ending. So I mean, it's an incredible movie, and weirdly enough, that's my favorite part of the movie, is when they go to Kelson's camp, and he just kind of has this he just has such a different attitude than you think he would, because he's described as a crazy guy, and he's just so calm and just I'm here doing this.
I think that's why it carries and catapults the way it does,
right?
Because we've built up the movie to, all right, Dr. Kelson is crazy, but Spike is out looking for him anyway. You get to see Dr. Kelson for the first time, and then you're like, oh, this is Ralph Fiennes. I know Ralph Fiennes. All right, dope. And then he's super calm, and you're like, okay, this is my chance in the movie to breathe. And then Ralph Fiennes reaches in and pulls your stomach out and goes, no, this is not the time to breathe. This is the time to grieve.
Right. Nice.
And you don't get that moment to catch your breath.
Yeah, you really don't.
You just transition your brain from anxiety to complete sadness.
Oh God, yeah, that's exactly it then. Yeah, that's I couldn't have said it better myself. And yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. Very well said. And it's this movie has legs. Like you said, it's a rocket ship just flying to the moon. And I remember this, obviously I knew when it was going to end the second time, but the second time it flew by faster than the first time. I'm like, how is this possible? I usually hate horror movies that are
it's brand new technology.
Oh, man.
Like
It's crazy.
Danny Boyle has figured out how to fold time space for a movie.
I somehow came out of the movie before it even started. What's happening here? My showtime was 10:20. It's 10:15. What the fuck? Jimmy, blah, blah, blah. I mean, okay, I think I've covered everything that I wanted to say. Is there anything else? Because, the dislikes I had they're so minimal. I mean, yes, some of the camera work was a little much at times, not enough for me to sway my rating. The footage bit, I can take that out because you explained that to me. I guess it's not even really a dislike. It's a question. Was the causeway there, or did they build that? Because I'm not buying they built that, even with 28 years to do it. I don't know.
I'm thinking it was probably a natural structure, like a sandbar.
Right.
And over time, they built upon an already existing structure.
Okay,
That's the only thing that really makes sense to me, because there's no way that on this island they're like, oh, let's take a small fishing boat across the way and excavate to build this. It was probably already naturally occurring in some.
There we go. That makes the most sense.
Fashion.
Because I was like, I mean, this is cool. I like this, but I don't know how this is here. And they did show it. They actually did kind of pull at a certain point, a map popped up on screen and it showed the causeway. So I'm assuming that it was there, but I didn't know if that was a map that was before, the infection happened or the virus happened or not. So anything regarding likes, dislikes, anything that you wanted to mention before we move on with the rest of the format here?
So it was originally a dislike. And then it kind of turned over in not necessarily a like, but I guess it makes sense why it was.
Yeah.
So like at the very beginning, I was like, all right, there's way too much zombie dick.
So much zombie dong.
But then you see the alpha running amongst all of the others. And like some of the zombies' dicks are just rotted off and there's nothing there. And the alpha has the biggest zombie dick out of all of the others. And it's just one other like, oh, that's why he's called the alpha. Like it was a very crude slide into, all right, I really don't dislike it because like thematically you made it make sense.
Right.
So
you mean,
okay.
you're talking about the Jason Momoa zombie?
Yeah, Samson.
He looks so much like Jason Momoa. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah, so moving on. So my hot take, the actual hot take that might stir up some commotion is I do think this is the best one in the franchise. Not by much from 28 Days, but I still think this is the strongest installment. If 28 Days looked this good, that would probably also have the same rating. But this is my favorite. Any hot takes for you?
No.
Okay.
I am a true and utter fan of this movie.
Okay.
Like I said up top, like to me, this is a perfect movie.
Yeah, no, I agree with that statement too. So hooks for me, I've already mentioned this sequence. It's the opening scene when a whole gaggle of kids just get murked watching Teletubbies. You have my attention, and it kept my undivided attention for 2 hours, which for a horror movie, man, that's a good movie. Well, at least, from my point of view, that's an incredible movie to keep my attention and throw so much at me in 2 hours where it doesn't even seem like 2 hours. Yeah, it's crazy. So that's my hooked moment. I was ready to go from the beginning. What about you? Was it the beginning or?
So,
oh God, I'm nervous now.
No, so my hooked moment is technically before even your hooked moment.
Oh my God.
I don't know how this happened or what was going on. But like when we were in the theater just sitting there, the lights were still on and there were like some trailers rolling, some commercials rolling, yada, yada, yada. And the lights went down and a rated R thing popped up like you would see for, oh, this is a rated R trailer.
Yeah.
Dope. And then the movie started.
What?
So
that's weird.
It grabbed me at the rated R and then the movie's happening and I'm like, wait, am I watching a trailer for the movie I'm here to see? And then the movie just kept going and I was like, holy shit, this is the movie.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So it caught me at the rated R flash screen transitioning right into the movie. Like, so even before all the little children get destroyed, it hooked me because it caught my attention so quick.
Okay. Horror moment for me is the alpha running down the causeway, because when I saw it in Dolby Friday, on the opening weekend, Dolby is everything's just better in Dolby, like the sound, the image, everything. And
bigger screen, like scientifically engineered sound.
Yeah, it's crazy. And in Dolby, when he was running down the causeway, I'm not even kidding. The seats were like doosh, 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 and I'm like,
oh yeah,
like that's one of my things in horror movies or just life, being chased with thudding footsteps. Like I watch, ghost shit on YouTube, like ghost videos, and there's one video in particular where this guy is looking down a stairwell and some unseen force stomps up the stairs. No, I don't think so. So just like, and there's another one in Paranormal Activity. Someone gets charged. I think it's in the marked ones, and it's just footsteps. So that's like one of my biggest things is just being chased. It just fuels my anxiety. And the causeway is so long. I mean, you're hearing thumps for like a good minute or so, and it's just very, very intense. So that's my horror moment. What about you?
I think my horror moment would have to be the Cillian Murphy reveal cameo, and then all of those infected just coming over the hill, and you're like, oh, there's like 3 or 4 of them. Oh shit, there's like 40 of them.
Wait, the what? The cameo?
Yeah, that one super emaciated zombie that sits up in that field of like flowers.
Yeah,
that I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be Cillian Murphy.
It's not.
No, it's not.
I also have trivia on it too, with a quote from Danny Boyle, because Cillian Murphy is supposed to be in the Bone Temple. He's it's rumored. I don't know if it's confirmed, but he's supposed to be in that one.
Gotcha.
And it's perfect because he's aged the right amount. So
yeah, he really has. But yeah, so when that zombie sits up in the flowers, and then like all the other infected just start right over the hill, and you've got like that kind of almost golden sunset happening. I'm just like, oh, it's so
this is cinema. This is cinema. Fucking,
because not only is it absolutely beautiful to look at, but again, I'm like, oh yeah, there's like 4 or 5 infected, and then you just get the hordes of the Mongols coming over the fucking hill, and you're like, this is terrifying because they're sprinting, and it's extra scary because you don't see, like, there's no facial expression. It's just silhouettes against the sky.
Yeah, and they're all just
sprinting at you,
tweaking
with the most murderous of intent.
My favorite kill is the tunnel scene when the Swiss, yeah, whoever, the patrol people going around the island, they go into this tunnel at one point because they've been pushed back by the infected, and they run into the Alpha in this tunnel, and one guy just gets his head ripped clean off, spinal cord included. And the first time I saw them in theater, I like squealed with just jubilous, oh my god, I was like, this is amazing. I didn't think we were gonna get that kind of gore. I really didn't. I was so deliriously happy when that happened. Probably clapped my hands. It was great. Very graphic, very almost like Hatchet-esque when Victor Crowley rips that guy's head in half, almost like that, but he pulls the spinal cord out with it. Good time. Favorite kill for you?
I think my favorite kill is when Jamie and Spike happen upon that infected that's been like hung upside down, and you get that whole like action heavy sequence. Like it went from a horror movie to an action movie for about 2 solid minutes, and then they're climbing up into the
like the attic.
into the attic. Yeah, I thought that kill was all of those kills in that sequence was super cool.
Yeah, and that's the best iteration too of the sweeping camera still moment, because you get it.
Yeah.
He gets it like right through the head, and the camera goes like almost like a 180. I was like, oh, this is so good. So good. Favorite character for me, it's Ralph Fiennes, Dr. Nelson. Although, I mean, Spike is like right there. Ralph Fiennes is an established person, in my movie watching. If he wasn't in the movie, it would have been Spike, but I just love Ralph Fiennes. He's great in this. What about you? Favorite character?
For me, it's Spike, because I feel like a lot of this movie's energy is predicated on him as an actor.
Yeah.
I feel like if he would have dialed it back like 2%, movie completely fails.
Yeah, it's completely different movie, probably not as good. So he brought,
because this entire movie, like I am rooting for this boy.
Right.
Like I am like, Spike, let me go with you. Let me help you.
As opposed to 28 weeks later, where I'm like, fuck them kids. I don't like those kids. They're literally the cause of everything that happened in this movie.
Or in 28 days later, little Hannah, I'm sorry, flat as a board acting.
Well, okay, yeah, not a great actress.
Note the entire, like Frank was like, granted, Frank's character only works because of Hannah, but Frank is just so much better of a character than Hannah is. Frank's the dad.
Brendan Gleeson. Yeah, Brendan Gleeson. Yeah. Well, he's another Harry Potter alum, which is funny because he played Mad-Eye Moody in the Harry Potter franchise. But yeah, it's just so funny. Like I didn't really I don't know. I was worried for Hannah at the end of 28 Days Later because that shit got fucking dark. That shit got dark.
Yeah.
The captain's like, well, I promised them women. I'm like, well, first of all, Hannah's a child. Ew. And then it turns into this like almost revenge story where Cillian Murphy is like releasing zombies and like everyone's getting completely destroyed. But then in 28 weeks later, I'm like, fuck those kids. If they didn't go out when they weren't supposed to and happened to find their mom, none of this would have happened. Fuck those kids. And then in this one, you're like, nah, Spike is ride or die as Spike. I didn't have a least favorite character. Literally every single person in this movie has some sort of likable quality. Even though Jamie's kind of a scumbag, he still has redeeming qualities about him. Like, he's a great dad in most regards. So there wasn't one person where I was like, yeah, screw you. So I don't know if you have a least favorite character.
No, not really. I mean, every character matters. Every character matters.
Right. My favorite. So there's like a few favorite lines. I love the Memento Mori and the Memento Amoris. Remember you must die. Remember you must love. But the one line, I guess it's two lines, a line of dialogue that literally was just like a kick in the nutsack is when Dr. Kelson puts down Isla's skull and he goes, find a place for her, the best one of all. I was like, oh, I was like, oh my God, my heart. And then he goes and puts her all the way on the top and faces her like skull towards the sunrise. I was like, my God, surprised I was not full-fledged weeping at that moment. Like, God damn. If I had any more emotions, I would be weeping. So that's my favorite line. Find a place for her, the best one of all. Fucking killer line. What about you? Any lines that stood out?
My favorite line is, oh yeah, you're too young to know the internet.
Fucking Eric.
Yeah.
He just came out of nowhere and was like the best comic relief ever.
Yeah. And at the same time, every time he was on scene, I'm like, I don't know about you. Like, you're going to be the reason shit goes wrong here in a minute.
Yeah. Cause it's like he saves Isla and Spike and then almost immediately regrets it because he's like, what the fuck is wrong with her? Why is she calling you dad? But then gives her a piggyback ride and helps out. But then as soon as that baby comes out, he's like, nah, put her on the ground. I want to kill it. I'm like, you're going back and forth so much. I don't know if you're good or bad. And then he, gets his head ripped off too. Another good kill right there. But yeah, it's so funny because it's not like a comical movie, but then he comes in and you're like, oh, great. This is some much needed humor right now before we get into the gut punching later.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's perfect spots of pacing from this entire movie. God, I think that's it. I think I got everything out I needed to get out. I'm through all of my notes. Is there anything else you wanted to mention? Anything that we didn't get to? Regarding the whole franchise, like, any of the movies.
No, not really. One thing I will say is if it is still in theaters when this episode comes out, I highly urge, if you want to go see this, to see it in theaters if you can.
Oh yeah.
Like it's not going to lose anything on the small screen, but the immersiveness that comes along with being in the theater, in the true theater dark with that AC and the seats, it was movie magic.
Yeah.
It was true movie magic, which nowadays is really hard to capture. And it was one of those movies like this is a movie to be seen in theaters. It is a theatrical event.
Yeah, and this will be released on June 30th, so it'll definitely still be in theaters. It will probably still have some Dolby presence as well, because the next one that's going to take over Dolby is going to be Jurassic Park, which comes out. Actually, no, yeah, by the time this is released, Jurassic Park comes out that week, so it probably won't have...
Can we just light that series on fire and get rid of it?
Yeah, I'm going to go see it because I'm reviewing it on another thing, but I'm not excited about it. But yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it is dinosaurs killing shit, and it's Scarlett Johansson, so hey, whatever. But yeah, definitely go see this. It'll still be in theaters. It might not have a Dolby presence or a fancier theater, but nonetheless, it's still good to go support it, because the more people that support this while it's in theaters, the more we'll get of this franchise, which at this point I am all about. I was kind of worried.
I need it.
Yeah.
I need it.
I was kind of worried when they were like, yeah, it's a planned trilogy. I was like, well, we all saw what happened with the Strangers trilogy that was planned. And they're just releasing the second one like later this year, early next year, with no plans on the third one necessarily. So I was kind of worried, but I think we got it covered, especially if Danny Boyle and all these people are coming back. So definitely go check it out in theaters. Let's move on to post-review stuff, and then we'll get the hell out of here. Taglines. I really love this first tagline. Time didn't heal anything. That's an incredible tagline. In 28 days it began, in 28 weeks it spread, in 28 years it evolved. Going back to what you talked about with the song, the trailer features a distinctive recording of the poem Boots by Rudyard Kipling, read by the actor Taylor Holmes in 1915. The poem's repetitive rhythm imagines the march of the British soldiers during the Boer War? Okay. And this recording of the poem is used by the U.S. military to simulate the psychology distress of being held captive, which it did not resonate. It did not make me feel good when I was hearing it on screen. I was like, I don't like this. This is not fun. Cillian Murphy, whose character survived the events of 28 Days Later, has been confirmed as not appearing in the movie, although the makers don't rule out his return in one of the planned sequels. Like I said, he's supposed to be in 2. Yet the viewers spotted a scene in the trailer that featured an emaciated zombie that looked suspiciously like Murphy. Fan speculation was quickly quelled when art dealer Agnes Neal came forward about being cast in the movie and appearing as the emaciated zombie in the trailer. Director Danny Boyle took the blame for the misunderstanding. Quote, I showed my girlfriend the trailer and she said, quote, people will think that's Cillian. I said, don't be silly. I ignored her, so I've eaten my piece of humble pie sense. So there you go. This film was primarily shot using an iPhone 15 Pro Max, which makes this film the biggest feature-length movie to be shot on a smartphone. That's crazy. Originally, it was going to be titled 28 Months Later, continuing with the movie's timeline set title motif. However, after so much time had passed since visiting the world in 2007, it was deemed more appropriate to name the film 28 Years Later. And then during the scene at the beginning, when Jamie takes Spike out to the mainland for the first time, black and white footage from 28 Weeks Later is shown among the other archive footage. You can see Jeremy Renner's character shooting people from the rooftop. And we can't not have trivia about the zombie dongs. The genitals in the film were simulated through photorealistic prosthetics. So there you go. There's your zombie dong trivia. No goofs I could find. Rated 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb. As of right now, it has a 3.6 out of 5 on Letterboxd. 89% on the tomato meter and a kind of shockingly low 65% audience score. I don't know about that. Cory, what did you give 28 days, 28 weeks, and then 28 years?
Got you.
What is your official rating of
Let me get that pulled up.
All right.
So 28 days later, I gave a 4.5.
Okay, same.
28 weeks later, I gave it 3.5.
Okay, I gave that a 4.
And 28 years later, I gave it a 5 out of 5.
Okay, so we're basically right on par with our ratings. I gave 28 weeks a little more, like a half star more. But yeah, 5 out of 5 for me as well. So that is a Frightmare certified slap.
And not only that, this is the first time in
that's
the history of forever that Jessica has also given it a 5 out of 5.
So that's 3 5 out of 5s.
That's a Frightmare certified ultra slap.
Yeah, I need to get a different
USDA choice prime.
I gotta get a fatter slap, I guess, if we ever have Jessica rate something 4 or higher. No similar movies according to Letterboxd as of yet. It takes some time for those to be compiled. However, similar movies according to IMDb, 28 Weeks Later, 28 Days Later, and then some random new releases, because that's what IMDb does. Ballerina, The Life of Chuck, and Materialist. So do with that information what you will. I've got some killer reviews here. So we got to do funny reviews. I think I have 5 or so.
I've got 4.
All right, so I'll kick it off here.
Because all the really funny ones that I found were like 4.5 paragraphs long, and I'm not reading those.
All right, 4 stars from Harry Argyle. It's kind of funny that his name's Harry. 28 inches later.
A half star from Baz. My placenta doesn't exactly feel very magical, Ralph finds.
Let's see here. Oh, 4 stars from Evan AC. All of this because of a monkey, by the way.
A half star from Jay Togan. Absolutely not the phrase I whispered to myself over and over again, at least 115 times as I watched this excruciating film and counted the minutes until it was over.
Oh, man. Wow. Half star is pretty rough. 4 stars from Tim Tam Titus. Starting to think the virus has Viagra in it.
A 5 star and a heart from Emma is a Mermaid. What's Samson doing?
Where he at? What he doing? Is that all you have?
No, I've got one more.
Okay, I've got 2 more. So 4 stars from Mariana Neal. Quote, I know a dick when I see one, quote, is a choice of line considering the amount of actual zombie dick seen in this movie. Isla says that about Eric.
A 5 star and a heart from Victor Medina. Go, go, Power Rangers.
3.5 from Lenny. Ralph Fiennes is so damn orange in this film. I thought he was the fucking Lorax.
I thought he looked closer to the Yellow Man from Sin City.
Oh, shit. Okay. Man, thank you for reminding me of that movie that I have to watch immediately now.
It's not good. It does not hold up. It is so bad.
What?
Both Sin City and The Spirit do not hold up at all.
Well, now I have to watch it to see if I can't believe the no, okay. So follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Slasher app at Frightmares Podcast. Our email is stayspooky@outlook.com. You can also follow me personally on Letterboxd at Dr. Proctor. You are
Frightmares Cory.
Boo, yeah, next week, or I guess, well, technically, what is it, 2 days? Yes, in 2 days, on July 2nd, we will be in the 2000s, and Spencer and I will be doing Pitch Black, starring Vin Diesel. Spencer is making why is that funny? Why is that funny?
Because so from that series, that's the only good one. And it feels so 2000s. Like,
so perfect. We're starting with the perfect movie going into the 2000s. Spencer's making his grand return to the show after some time apart. We'll talk about that on the next episode. So until then, stay tuned and
stay spooky. Stay spooky.